Good day, I'm Stephen McHugh and this is your JIS News for Wednesday, June 13. Parliament is to review the Zones of Special Operations legislation shortly. Passed in July 2017, the Law Reform Zones of Special Operations, Special Security and Community Development Measures Act calls for a period of review 1 year after its passage. At that time, any proposed amendments will be taken into consideration. Prime Minister Andrew Holness announced the upcoming review at Tuesday's sitting of the Lower House as he tabled a resolution to extend the Mount Salem and Denham Town zones by a further 60 days. In making the case for the extension, Mr. Holness says the additional time is necessary as the progress being made in both zones must be allowed to continue.
The government is consistent in applying a policy not to address the symptoms, the murders and the dangerous and serious crimes, but to address the real causal factors, which is to fix the broken communities.
The two communities are now in the build or social intervention phase of the operation. This aspect of the Zone of Special Operation includes programs to cover zinc fence removal, waste management, skills training, behavior modification, as well as upgrading works. In a bid to combat the trafficking of weapons and ammunition on the island, the Firearm Licensing Authority, FLA, will introduce online tracking for firearm applications during this financial year. The agency will also acquire a bullet tracks marking machine to improve the authority's capacity to capture bullet signatures. National Security Minister Dr. Horace Chang made the disclosure during his contribution to the sectoral debate in Parliament Tuesday.
The Private Security Regulation Authority Act will be amended to improve the regulatory framework governing the private security industry to ensure appropriate standards for the collaboration work that may be required with the police. Mr. Speaker, control over all arms is the primary condition for security in our island nation.
Dr. Chang says the changes will support amendments to be made to the Firearms Act this legislative year. The FLA has already introduced a fingerprinting mechanism that's connected to the Criminal Records Office database, upgraded the ballistic signature machine, as well as the tracking of the purchase and usage of ammunition on the island. Industry and Commerce Minister Audley Shaw says government will be using 4 platforms to improve the island's ease of doing business. They are the National Business Portal, National Trade Portal, the National Investment Policy, and the National Outsourcing Strategy.
We are working assiduously to have these projects completed and launched. As a country, we have sought to build a strong and robust landscape in which businesses can thrive, recognizing that comprehensive and supportive business facilitation are essential for investment and business development.
Minister Shaw was addressing local and foreign investors at the 3rd staging of the Jamaica Investment Forum on Tuesday in Montego Bay. He says with the implementation of the platforms, Jamaica can improve its ranking on the World Bank's Doing Business report. The island currently ranks 70th out of 190 countries, the highest in the Caribbean after Puerto Rico and 6th overall in the Latin America and Caribbean region. The Bureau of Standards Jamaica, BSJ, has restructured its operation to now focus on business development through the application of standards and best practices. The regulatory arm of the BSJ has been transferred to the National Compliance and Regulatory Agency. BSJ Executive Director Stephen Wedderburn says the Bureau's refocused roles will see significant benefits to the local business community.
The repositioned BSJ will assist businesses through development, promotion, and use of standards, provision of training, provision of testing, label assessment and calibration services, and provision of certification through the National Certification Body of Jamaica, which will remain as a unit within the Bureau of Standards Jamaica.
Mr. Wedderburn was speaking at a JIS think tank on Thursday. He says the BSJ will be engaging businesses on the importance of using standards to increase innovation, quality, consistency, and competitiveness. The minister responsible for the environment, Darrell Vaz, says government will be providing $25 million annually over the next 3 years in support of the No Dirty Up Jamaica campaign. Minister Vaz says the funds have been set aside to increase public awareness on the impact of improper waste disposal on the environment and the health of Jamaicans. The No Dirty Up Jamaica is a component of the Clean Coasts project and is spearheaded by the Tourism Enhancement Fund, Jamaica Environment Trust, and the Wisinco Group. The minister, meanwhile, has welcomed Prime Minister Andrew Holness's recent announcement that the state would be working with industry players to implement a plastic bottle deposit scheme similar to the one done for glass bottles.
It is an initiative that is sorely needed because we use and dispose of almost 1 billion PET bottles annually. Not million, 1 billion, which is roughly equivalent to 350 bottles per Jamaican each year.
And finally, the north-south leg of Highway 2000 is now the Edward Seaga Highway in honor of the former Prime Minister. At Tuesday's renaming ceremony, Prime Minister Andrew Holness said Mr. Seaga was quite deserving of the honor due to his contribution and dedication to national development.
It is said that the greatest use of life is to spend it for something that will outlast life. Mr. Seaga will live on through his work because he has spent his life building institutions and infrastructure that define our nation and provide service and value. Indeed, a legacy for generations now and generations to come.
In his response, the former Prime Minister thanked Mr. Holness for the honor, saying it represents an extraordinary moment in his life. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Stephen McHugh. Thanks for watching.